sheep, a communal gaze, Graze. Mo is an interdisciplinary artist whose work explores physical material and various forms of labor. In this hour, Mo and her collaborator, Danielle Moser, will bring sheep from their space into your space. First, you'll meet a few sheep and then enter into a 30-minute soundscape meant to be played out loud into your own environment. Try to find a spot where you can observe physical space, not just your computer screen. And be prepared to turn on your camera or adjust your own position so that you're not present in the frame. Now here's Mo and Danielle with more.
Thanks, Bree. I really appreciate your sunscreen situation. That looks like me. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We've got Danielle, my collaborator here, who's been working on the sound piece with me. And then this is my secondary self down here with the looking out on downtown Portland from the apartment where I'm staying. And you're seeing these lovely lambs and sheep. I'll give you a brief introduction and then I'll toss it over to Danielle. Hold on one second. So today we're going to make a video together. Danielle Moser, is here, who I just introduced. And she's next to the lammies and sheeps that we love so much and take care of. And they're out in their pasture at the Dickinson farm. And those are there to give you all a taste of what's going to be in your minds today and in your driveways, backyards, and living rooms. To give you a little background, I've been helping with bottle feeding the lambs at the Dickinson College farm for 3 seasons now. And each year has had its own harrowing experiences and joys. And I'm not skilled in this work in any way, but since I live next door and I like wool and fibers a lot, Matt reached out to me and I ended up helping out and it got me totally hooked. I've learned a lot about the sheep, about the emotions and labor involved in taking care of livestock, and about ways to use my artwork as a tool to explore these elements and the way they connect. This particular work that we're about to put together, my dear willing participants, questions the rural-urban dichotomy, the ways domestic animals are forever linked to human care, and the ways we visualize and interact with different kinds of labor. I'm also interested in what a break from our screens can look like. Our attention has been challenged a lot over the last year, as I've personally seen in the class that I've taught and in my own experience kind of getting distracted during Zoom meetings. Can this kind of contemplation, meditating on another person's labor, in some ways refocus our attention? And that's one of my main questions. Now, without further ado, here's Danielle to introduce you to some of our woolly friends that will grace your spaces shortly. And Danielle, you can tell us about yourself a little bit and your work, if you want to.
Sure. My name is Danielle Moser. I'm the second-year livestock apprentice at the Dickinson College Farm. And here's one of our woolly friends right now. Her name is Tu. She's very friendly, as you can see. But yeah, I've been working with the sheep since about 2017 at the farm. And definitely, it's hard not to do this and not definitely become very attached to them. I refute Mo saying that she's not skilled at this work, because I contend that there's a lot of natural skill with Mo. She'll come to the farm at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday and find a lamb struggling and save a life in a night. So she's always been the sheep guardian for us. So that's the attachment to Mo that we all have here at the farm, just the sheep guardian. But yeah. But I'll have the camera on these guys. Hopefully they won't be too up in my face, but they're definitely very, very interested. And I'm prone to scratching them without noticing. So
Totally.
Yeah.
Real quick, Danielle, can you tell us what brought you to livestock and then your fondness for the sheep in particular before we get started?
Sure. So I intend on going to veterinary school for food animal medicine at some point. And the sheep in particular, I've always had a real fondness for them. I like their body language. On a scientific note, I think their anatomy is really cool. And on a farmer note, their size is really practical. Working with sheep, it's very fun, and I find it intuitive personally. So enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, she's a natural. She really cares a lot about these guys. Thank you so much. And so everybody, I know that since we're coming from different environments, you might not be familiar with these animals. So yeah, take a look, Danielle, if you want to show everybody the sheep and the flock. How many are in the flock right now?
So right now we have, let's see, we have 12 ewes, 24 lambs, and 14 ewe lambs. So there's some math in there. This is a total. I can't say I can do it off the top of my head, but quite
a lot
few.
of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can keep your video on. That's totally fine. And then let me go back down here. Okay, so the following recording is something that we made together with Danielle, recording like task related sounds. And then I kind of did the same thing and then supplemented it with other tones just that we experienced, in our time with the lambs throughout the season. And it's a 30-minute compilation of sounds that we collected on the Dickinson farm, the one that we're talking about where Danielle works. In it, you'll hear animals, their movements, their bodies, and their voices, but you'll also hear machines and people because they can't really be separated from each other. What I'm asking you to do is to point your camera towards a physical, not digital space, natural or otherwise. It can be the built environment too, and gaze at it for 30 minutes. You can also graze like sheep on your environment with all of the senses that we've developed over time. And make sure you're not in the frame. I want to see the space that you're seeing. Try in your mind to overlay these sheep sounds on top of whatever space you're in. Pay attention to what you see and how you see it. And now let's all of us point our cameras outward and get on with it. I'll give you all a moment to get situated while I start to share my computer sound. Looking good, everybody. Love it. Great. Amazing. And I do encourage not video participants who aren't who don't have their video on right now. If you want to turn it on, I'd like you to not be in the frame too. So it's a win-win situation, and it would help me make this video. Thanks so much, you all. Great. And now that all of our spaces can be seen, let's get ready to meditate in our own physical space with some sheep and the labor of Danielle and myself and other people on the farm. And remember to pay attention to what your imagination creates and try to put these animals into your space. And here we go.
You're butting her away. Really? Are pets that precious a commodity, do you think? It's worth quarreling with family? Field playground. I see. Someone's out grazing this some normal sheep stuff. Wow, where's Shelly going? You guys just gonna follow me around? Doing rounds? Okay. People should get an itchy spot. You guys have to count on this. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to give you more today. Here's your bag. Your ears. Oh, it's pretty good. I understand. I've betrayed you a lot. However. You seem happy. What? You got a tick in your ear. Come here. You know, hold still for me. What? Yeah. Hold on. What? Run right into your sister. It's not gonna have a tip. I can't part with this. Yeah, right here.
Okay. The only thing I have left to do is moving that.
walk along the gravel road. Welcome back, everyone. I think I hear my mom's birds, too.
Yes. Yes, you do. And the trucks.
And the trucks. All the sounds of the sheep environment. Chris is here, too. Chris is another Pennsylvania sheep person. How's everybody feeling? Were we able to manifest some sheep? Oh, there's the apprentices at the farm. These are some other people that work at the Dickinson farm that you can also meet if y'all want to say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. They're frequently in real life with the sheep, not imaginary life. But it looks like they were also imagining them.
Recording in progress.
There's some more. Did anyone was anyone able to experience the sheep in some way, or what are we thinking about now after that moment of break from our own worlds, or combination of our own worlds and someone else's world?
Hi, Mo.
Hey, Rebecca.
I didn't really imagine, like I could hear the sheep, but I got distracted because I'm outside and this little jumping bug like jumped onto my hand. So I started watching this jumping bug. And as the bug was trying to I don't know, have you seen the bugs when they waver right before they're about to jump?
Mm-hmm.
How they do that? So it started doing this kind of like waver with the music, I guess music sounds. Like, yeah, it's music, the sheep music. So it was really cool to kind of watch it kind of happen at the same time.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Did anybody notice moments of connection like that? Or dissonance? It could be both, I guess.
I think some of the lambs heard the recording of the other lambs and they started bleeding as well. So that was kind of interesting out here.
Nice.
The moment where the train, I think, passes through the recording, or else there's a train passing through my neighborhood, I was definitely having some distortion of which place I was in. But also there's like just so many layers of information. Like I can't tell if my neighbors are having a fight or what's going on. And then there's like all the thoughts in my brain, and then there's the visual information. And also the thing that I think made me feel the most present was the sensation of temperature of the air for being outside, and then moments in the recording, like when the sheep was super close in my ears. So there was a lot of like noticing how unpresent I was, which is a common experience for me in meditation.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's interesting thinking about having to pay attention to a sound that's not your sound and combining them together. Yeah, I think that's just a common experience we've all had over the last year, being asked to focus on so many things at once, and even within our digital space, there's a lot of distraction, even though it feels like a very direct experience. So this was kind of one of the ways that I was thinking through something that was somewhat analogous, but perhaps challenging us to think with our senses differently.
Hi, Mo. It's Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. I tried to sit at my like off to the side of my computer with the camera pointed out the window, but I just couldn't focus on not focusing on the computer. So I went outside and walked in my favorite spaces in my neighborhood, and I noticed things I hadn't noticed before. So thanks for the soundscape that really heightened my awareness to different things.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing how sitting still is something that's very difficult for many of us. Sitting still and just looking straight ahead. Sometimes I started doing that a lot in quarantine, just going out on my porch and just kind of staring into space. And this is sort of a recreation of that, but and kind of sharing that experience with other people. Yeah, does anybody else do that? Like force yourself to zone out?
Well, a thing that I also left the room that I was in and went outside because the experience of looking at my window was so the exact same experience as just staring at my computer screen. And I just was like, I need depth of field in a different way. So yeah, that I've definitely over this time period of being in quarantine noticed how my eyes are used to only focusing basically a foot and a half in front of my face, and like trying to relearn multiple levels of depth of like focus attention, with my, like looking at space that has actual dimensions is more challenging now.
Whoa. I guess that's true. Our depth of field is limited for those of us who've been on the computer for so long.
I had this funny experience looking into my backyard where every time a sheep bleated, is that the right word? I think I'm just learning that word for the person. Thank you. I was trying, like my brain was trying to locate the source, like the visual source of the sound. And even though I knew that it was coming from this computer and it was just sound, sometimes I would like find myself craning my head over to look at the computer to see what the action was on the screen, like forgetting momentarily that there was no image. And then if I could manage to keep myself looking at the backyard, my eyes were like darting to different leaves on the trees as if they might be the source of like the lamb bleeding. Like it doesn't obviously make any sense, but somehow like my mind was like desperate to find the source.
It totally does. But when I was researching some stuff for this piece, there's a little bit of research around how sound can be incredibly deceiving, and it has a power over visual experience that we don't always identify. So that feeling you're experiencing of like the sound being the trigger point for recognition is apparently really common. And it's something that I didn't realize until thinking about this in that way. That's cool. Thanks, Becca. And Bree's been going by sheep in our classes for the last few months. So we've had sheep in classes for a long time now. Go ahead, Becca, or Rebecca, sorry.
I just wanted to respond to what Becca said. Now that Becca was talking about these leaves being the making or the source of the sound, I'm like imagining leaves with sheep heads, like little sheep heads on the leaves. So I mean, that's a cool visual to think about. So thanks.
May we all see leaves as sheep heads for the next day, burned into our brain. Who else? Danielle, I wanted to bring it back to you for a moment as well, just so we could check in with you. And it seems like the friends are all gathered around.
I have a lot to say. Yeah, I definitely feel as the sounds were playing, it really did blend in with their their atmosphere here really well. So that was really interesting. Lots of loud chewing that I couldn't tell if it was coming from the sheep or from the recording. Very interesting. She's enjoying her scratches. But and there was also, I think there must be a football stadium nearby or some kind of high school that plays football. I could hear cheering in the distance. Couldn't tell if that was in the recording or going on in here. So I don't know. It's interesting kind of dissonance going on, being in the, same sounds and different sounds. Couldn't tell where each one was coming from. So it's very interesting for me and for the sheep as well, hearing some of the bleeding noises and wondering where they were coming from.
Totally. You're the one who told me about that sound that when they fled into a new pasture, which is a lot of the sounds that y'all heard today with the moving of the fences. That ripping of grass is is always what you hear as soon as they go into a new pasture.
Yeah, I was wondering what that noise was.
They're loud chewers. If she's kind of chewing, but you can kind of hear it going on now too.
Well,
Wow. Camera kisses. That's what we need.
Well, we have about a minute left. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share?
I'll just jump in. I really enjoyed the rhythm. There was like a rhythm that kind of calmed my mind and set a pace. So I think that was important, especially as like I was kind of processing. I think if I go idle, I tend to get into an anxious state. So it was almost like the rhythm was allowing me to kind of set a tone with my thinking. So I really appreciated that. Yeah, it was really cool.
Thanks, Shelby. Yeah, I think just one last thing, Bree. One of the things that I tried to do was leave moments where you could be more present in your physical space and have that just like low tone rhythm, and then moments where the recording would bring you back into the recording, so you'd vacillate a little bit. But I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Danielle, for coming, and Apprentices at the Farm and other Pennsylvania livestock friends. I appreciate it. And thanks for everyone's responses to this experience. I greatly appreciate your time and brains.
Well, thank you so much, Mo and family. We really enjoyed that experience. And we're moving into the next 9 minutes of break. So feel free to tune in to Laura Glazer's radio station for the next 9 minutes before we come back to Emma and her plants at 5 p.m., which is something you do not want to miss. So be sure to be back at 5.